It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, Ram fans. This is Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are a member of the Fans First Sports Network. You can also follow us on YouTube. Our channel is at LA Rams Up. We have video content there as well as our podcasts. I will be joined often by my football gurus, Ian and Paul. Hey, we're not Rams insiders. We're just fans who love talking about the NFL and our LA Rams. Let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 484 of Rams Up. I'm going to have another 13 thoughts for you regarding our Los Angeles Rams. I wanted to do 18 observations, just couldn't come up with those extra 5, so we're rolling with the 13. Before we kick this off, Episode 484, let's talk about a Ram who wore number 84. I looked at the list and one name jumped off the screen at me. Jack Snow, the wide receiver out of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and the University of Notre Dame, 6'2", 190 pounds, was actually drafted by the Minnesota Vikings in the 1965 draft and then traded to the Rams. Played for the Rams for 11 years, 340 catches, 6,012 yards, 45 TDs. He is 6th on the all-time Rams receiving yardage list behind, wow, this is quite a list that he's trailing, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Henry Ellard, Cooper Kupp, and Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch, followed by Jack Snow. And man, he teamed up with Roman Gabriel over and over again on those long passes. And he was one of the more famous athletes in Los Angeles during his years with the Rams, him and Roman Gabriel. And he was number 41 on my all-time greatest Rams list, wide receiver Jack Snow, number 84. So let's kick off my 13 thoughts. Talking about the Rams' all-time receiving yardage leaders, this guy, Puka is already 52nd on the list. That's right, number 52. And another 1,000-yard season, and he will break into the top 20. 2 years, and he'll be in the top 20. Pretty amazing. Thought number 2 here, Pat McAfee and Dan Orlovsky. We're talking about the Rams offense, and Orlovsky going off on the Rams, saying this is going to be an awesome offense. They're going to pound the ball. They're going to run the ball, and they got these great receivers and incredible quarterback. Watch out for this Los Angeles Rams offense, and I concur. I don't know how you're going to stop it. Offensive line is big and nasty. Wide receivers, great route runners, physical in the run game. And then you got the gunslinger back there and a running attack. Kyron Williams and now Blake Corum coming on board to help. Tight ends, maybe that's a weakness, but man, Colby Parkinson can block too. And I think that's one of the main reasons the Rams brought him over. And he'll be a healthy red zone target as well. Thought number 3, and this is a long one. Christian Gonzalez of NFL.com has been posting his storylines for each team, 5 storylines to keep an eye on. And before I looked at his storylines, I came up with mine, and then I did a compare. What were my 5 top storylines coming into the Rams training camp? Well, number 1 was replacing Aaron Donald, and that's kind of paired with the hope we have of Braden Fisk and Jared Verse being difference makers. That was storyline number 1. Man, no Aaron Donald. It's going to be different. Storyline number 2 is Cooper Kupp back? Is he 100%? Is he ready to go chase another triple crown, maybe? Probably not going to happen with Puka Nakua out there, but eyes on Cooper Kupp, especially early in the season. Storyline number 3 is how different is this defense going to be with Chris Shula calling the shots? Paul Walia thinks they're going to be a lot more aggressive. Not going to be standing back and reacting. They are going to come after quarterbacks. Storyline number 4 for me is this rebuilt secondary. Could have 4 new starters back there. Now, I'm not sure how we count Quentin Lake. If he's starting at safety, we'd basically have 5 new starters. And it also depends on what happens with John Johnson. But regardless, a lot of new faces in this secondary. Cameron Curl, Cameron Kitchens, Darius Williams, Trey White. It's going to be different. Storyline number 5 is the running game. This emphasis on the running game. How good is this running game going to be with this offensive line? Maybe taking it up a notch with Jonah Jackson, Alaric Jackson putting on some weight apparently, adding Blake Corum to the mix, more plays out of the pistol, blocking wide receivers and tight ends. The running game, man, if it excels, what is that going to do for our passing game? Those were my 5 storylines. What were Christian's? Well, his top storyline, I didn't really get this one. It's not a storyline for me, the Stafford contract situation. To me, that's on the back burner. It is what it is. Rams and Stafford will figure it out. Storyline number 2 was Puka's sophomore year, so he focused on Puka. I focused on Kupp. Christian wondering if Puka's going to be able to match that production. Well, he probably won't if Cooper Kupp's 100%, but I don't have any doubt that he's going to be productive and be somewhere around that 1,000-yard receiving mark when all is said and done. Storyline number 3, he nailed it with me, the running game. It's all about the running game. Storyline number 4, no Higbee, so what do the Rams do? To me, this falls into perhaps my number 1 roster battle situation until Higbee gets back, or maybe after Higbee gets back if Parkinson and Davis Allen and maybe Hunter Long step up and perform. But no Higbee, what does that mean for the Rams tight end group? That did not align with any of my 5 storylines. His last storyline matched mine perfectly, replacing Aaron Donald, a new look defensive line, a new look defense perhaps, with Aaron Donald retiring. So Christian and I, we matched 2 out of 5. I like mine more, but hey, I'm a Rams podcaster. Christian, he covers the entire NFL, so we can expect him to be spot on. Thought number 4, and this is more of an observation. I stumbled across a YouTube video highlighting the 10 greatest tall running backs in NFL history. And you know how much I love lists. I should have done this myself. And apparently the criteria was 6 feet 2 inches or taller. And some highlights of this list, 2 Rams on it. So they got that part of it right. SJ39, number 6 on the list, ahead of Eddie George and Derrick Henry. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. Larry Zonka, number 5, John Riggins, number 4, Marcus Allen, number 3, Eric Dickerson, number 2, and Jim Brown, number 1. Marcus Allen, 6'2", did not realize that. Now, I do have an issue. Larry Zonka and John Riggins, and this has been a sports pet peeve of mine for a while, they played on championship teams, so they get the nod. SJ39 played on horrible teams, so he does not get elevated. You know what? Maybe it should be the other way around. The guy that runs for 11,438 yards and has over 3,300 yards receiving, maybe, just maybe, he should be considered better than a guy like Riggins, about 100 yards less rushing and over 1,000 yards less receiving, and Zonka, 3,000 less yards rushing and 2,500 less yards receiving. Maybe SJ39 should be ahead of those 2 guys, and I think he should. Brown, Dickerson, Allen, no issue with that as the top 3.
it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Thought number 5, it's that time of year. Got to start considering if I'm going to pay for the package, the YouTube TV NFL package. And, I'm probably going to end up buying it. But you got to think about how much sense it makes if all you really want to do is watch Ram games and, the other nationally televised games. There's a very good chance that close to all of the Ram games could be available to us without the package. But hey, if you like watching all the NFL games, go for it, of course. Rams have 5 primetime games, so we're going to see all of those, right? They have 3 Sunday morning games, the Bears, Patriots, and Jets. Those, it just depends on what else is on the air at that time, what other games are scheduled. But in all likelihood, they'll all be available on local TV. Sunday afternoon games, the Cardinals, 49ers, Packers, Raiders, Seahawks, Saints, and Bills. You can almost guarantee the 49er, Packer, and Bill games will be on regular TV available to us. The other ones, not so sure, no guarantee. There's 2 games that have yet to be scheduled the last 2 weeks, the Cardinals and the Seahawks. So just a rundown, the most interesting takeaway for me is 3 Sunday morning games, only 3. Not sure how I feel about that. Thought number 6, the roundtable we had the other day with Paul Walia and Ian Martinez, we talked about Colin Cowherd's coach rankings. McVay coming in at number 2 behind Andy Reid. I looked at the rest of this list. Sean Payton at number 4. Not sure I agree with that. Ahead of Shanahan and Tomlin, among others. I suspect Colin and Sean are buddies, and I think they are. No Dan Campbell among the top 10. He's just not viewed as cerebral as the others, but got to give him credit. He's got that team humming along, cranking along. I think he deserves to be in the top 10. Even though I was one of the guys that mocked that speech he gave when he was hired, that old biting at the knee speech, whatever it was he said, but got to give him credit. The Lions are a good football team, and they reflect Dan Campbell's spirit, that's for sure. Another thing we talked about during our last roundtable, Alaric Jackson listed at 345 now on the Rams website. If true, he is now the heaviest Ram. Who are the next 4? Steve Avila, 6'3", 338. KT Leviston, 6'4", 336. Bobby Brown, 6'4", 332. And Kevin Dotson, 6'4", 330. So Big Rob, coming in at 6 feet 8 inches tall, the tallest Ram, doesn't even crack the top 5 anymore. I'm pretty sure a few years back, he was the biggest, tallest Ram of them all. And by the way, the Rams' lightest starting offensive lineman, Jonah Jackson, 6'4", 315. We got a lot of muscle up front this year. Another thought I had this morning was, I've talked a little bit about Bo Limmer, and I've also talked about my roster locks. I shared 32 roster locks a couple weeks back. And, I really don't have any hard data to support this position, but I'm leaning towards Bo Limmer as a roster lock. When you consider what he can do on the interior as a backup guard and center, and the fact, as he mentioned in his press conference and his interview after he got drafted, that he's going to be coached by a former NFL center, Ryan Wendell. He's got great athleticism and great strength and extremely smart. Had more bench press reps than any other player at the combine, 39, and combine that with a 36.5-inch vertical leap. And apparently his draft stock was hurt because at the Senior Bowl, T'Vondre Sweat reportedly bullied him, bullied in quotes. And that was one snap against a giant nose tackle. Now, he'd probably get help in a game in that situation, right? But it really hurt his evaluation, apparently, and the Rams were able to grab him. Really good value, I think. I'm not calling him a lock, but I feel pretty strongly Bo Limmer is going to be on this 53-man roster. Number 9. Y'all probably heard the story already. Hall of Fame running back Terrell Davis escorted off a United Airlines flight on the way to Orange County. He's with his family, wife, 2 sons, and a daughter. And as he put it, he tapped a flight attendant to get his attention because the son wanted some ice for the drink he had just received. The flight attendant had moved on down the aisle a little bit. The flight attendant apparently reported that he was struck by Davis. FBI and local police show up and haul Davis off the plane in handcuffs. Now, I usually don't like to comment on these stories because unless you were there, how do you really know what happened? But I saw Terrell Davis interviewed discussing what happened, and him and his wife, pretty credible in my opinion, that this went down the way Terrell Davis described it. Not a good look for United Airlines if this is the case. I suspect there's going to be some heavy-duty retraining going on for United Airlines, and you have to wonder how often this type of stuff happens, and the victim, if we want to call him that, does not have the platform that Terrell Davis has, and it just gets swept under the rug. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Thought number 10, Lou Scattaglia of NFL Spin Zone. He throws out some pretty entertaining articles, top 5 quarterbacks, top 10 defensive player of the year candidates, that type of stuff. And he threw out his top 3 underrated Super Bowl matchups. Now, I'm not sure what qualifies as underrated, but maybe just ones that we haven't thought of. And he had the Bengals Packers. He had the Dolphins Eagles, and he had the Rams Texans, which is my Super Bowl prediction. So shout out to Lou Scattaglia. Now on the downside, he had the Texans winning that Super Bowl. You almost had us, Lou. You almost had us. Rams would win that Super Bowl. Here's my 11th thought. Paul Wally had talked about all the great NFL players from the University of Pittsburgh, Aaron Donald, Larry Fitzgerald, Darrelle Revis, and a bunch others. And it got me thinking, which university has the most Hall of Famers, NFL Hall of Famers? 2 schools still at the top, Notre Dame and USC, 14 apiece, followed by Michigan with 11, Ohio State, and, sure enough, the Pittsburgh Panthers with 10 each. And the Panthers are about to add member number 11. Thought number 12. Jaron Dubin of CBS Sports wrote a nice article naming the biggest question mark, the biggest roster battle and such for each NFL team. And I predicted he might say the Rams defense defending the run, that interior defensive line with Aaron Donald gone. Dubin had a similar thought. He thought it would be more about the pass rush, though. How does the Rams pass rush work? I'm sorry, I'm more concerned about defending the run, but I see his point. On the outside looking in, you have to be concerned if Kobe Turner, Byron Young, and these rookies are going to be able to get to the quarterback with offensive lines not having to focus on Aaron Donald. But I'm still more concerned about teams running it down our throat and moving the ball on the ground, chewing up clock. That's a bigger concern for me. I think we're going to get to the quarterback pretty well this year. Thought number 13. Fantasy football's just around the corner. Some of you probably starting to think about your drafts. And, I'm no fantasy football expert, as my lack of championships will indicate. However, this could be one year Rams players don't go very high. Think about it. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua, having both of them out there from the get-go is going to devalue both of them. The Rams draft Blake Corum. That's got to hurt Kyren Williams' value. If it weren't for Corum, Williams would go very high. Now, not so sure. A Rams tight end might not get drafted at all in a 12-team draft. Matthew Stafford, yeah, he'll probably go about where he usually goes, maybe a little bit higher, but not a top 7 or 8 fantasy football quarterback, I don't think. Again, I haven't looked at the rankings yet. Just flying by the seat of my pants here. The Rams defense actually could be a sneaky good pick because, as I mentioned in the roundtable, Rams have the potential to get up on teams. These teams start taking chances, turning the ball over. But on the other hand, the Rams defense could give up some points. Then there's Joshua Carty. Maybe that's the Ram that you should draft. I'm going to have to give that some thought. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.